We all have different personalities. In improving our study habits and becoming more effective students, what works for one person may be the very opposite of what works for someone else. Let's go over different personality types and how each can best create better habits. What's going on, guys? Dr. Jubal, MedSchoolInsiders.com. I recently read the book 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. In it, she describes 4 personality tendencies and how they interact with the world. In this video, I'll help you determine your personality tendency and empower you with the tools that are most effective for your personality type. First, let's briefly go over the 4 tendencies. However, to accurately assess yourself, check out the 4 Tendencies quiz and the 4 Tendencies book, link in the description below. After taking the quiz, let us know your tendency down in the comments. Unlike other personality frameworks like Myers Briggs, Enneagram, StrengthsFinder, and others, the 4 Tendencies doesn't cram several elements into each category. Instead, the 4 Tendencies focus on just one narrow aspect of a person's character: why we act and why we don't act. While we know it is tremendously difficult to change our nature, the 4 Tendencies provide us with the tools to change our circumstances in a way that suits us. There are 4 categories or tendencies: upholders, questioners, obligers, and rebels. These categories are based off of the premise of expectations, specifically how one responds to internal and external expectations. Outer expectations are those outside of your control, like homework, deadlines, tests, and requests from others. Inner expectations are those that you create yourself, like promising yourself to exercise 5 times per week, limiting TV time, or creating weekly YouTube videos. Now, upholders respond readily to both outer and inner expectations. Questioners question all expectations. They meet an expectation only if they believe it's justified, so in effect, they respond only to inner expectations. Obligers respond readily to outer expectations, but they struggle to meet inner expectations. Rebels resist all expectations, both outer and inner. Gretchen uses a joke to illustrate a point. How do you get an upholder to change a light bulb? He's already changed it. How do you get a questioner to change a light bulb? Why do we need to change that light bulb anyway? How do you get an obliger to change a light bulb? Ask him to change it. And how do you get a rebel to change a light bulb? Just do it yourself. Obligers are the most common tendency at 41% of the population, followed by questioners at 24%, then upholders at 19%, and last, rebels at 17%. Now, let's go over each tendency. First, the upholder. Think Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. Again, upholders are those that respond to both inner and outer expectations. They love schedules and routines. They like to know what's expected of them, and they don't like making mistakes or letting people down, including themselves. Upholders find it easy to form habits. In terms of strengths, they are very self-directed and have little trouble meeting deadlines, managing tasks, and fulfilling commitments. They love discipline, and it doesn't make them feel trapped. Instead, it makes them feel creative and free because they can execute any plan they want. Their self-motivation and reliability is second to none. But in terms of weaknesses, they can be too rigid, feeling compelled to follow the rules even when it's more sensible to ignore them. They can be disapproving, judgmental, and uneasy when others misbehave, even in minor ways. Flexibility and adaptability are often lacking. They can seem humorless, uptight, and impatient. They hate screwing up, so defensiveness and hostility may arise when they've made a mistake. Now, as a student, how can we apply this with study habits? The rigidity of upholders may lead them to spend their time ineffectively. They may feel compelled to read the entirety of every textbook chapter versus approaching more efficient means of information transfer. Check out my video on the truth about speed reading for tips on how to actually read faster. They also have trouble delegating responsibilities, which often results in them doing most of the work in group projects. If you're an upholder, be cognizant of your tendency towards rigidity and remind yourself to question your way of studying. Even if it's what your professor said, or feels right, or seems like the correct thing to do, see if there is a way to improve. Resist the urge to do something for the sole reason of feeling that you're supposed to do it. Next, let's talk about questioners, like Steve Jobs. Questioners meet only inner expectations, which includes outer expectations that they have deemed important and turned into inner expectations. They are committed to logic, information, and efficiency. They love improving processes. The questioner is the person that takes extensive time researching products before choosing the best one, or is the one that spends countless hours researching what the best diet or exercise regimen is to most efficiently get into shape. If you're questioning the entire 4-tendency premise, you're probably a questioner. In terms of strengths, questioners are data-driven, evidence-based, fair-minded, and interested in creating and improving systems that are efficient and effective. They're willing to play devil's advocate and critically examine both sides of an argument. But their constant questioning can be tiresome, draining, and obstructive. Questioners may also suffer from analysis paralysis, where their desire for more research and perfect information can actually hold them back from making decisions and acting. Because they are great at questioning, questioners can easily find rationale for avoiding an expectation or breaking a good habit. Their ability to find loopholes results in them shooting themselves in the foot. It can also keep them from listening to sound advice, like when Steve Jobs opted for alternative treatments for his pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor, the type of pancreatic cancer that is very treatable with Western medicine. Now, as a student, I see two pitfalls with questioners. First, over-deliberation. Avoid the urge to dig deeper and rather remind yourself to focus on the ultimate aim. Sometimes taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture will help you achieve your academic goals. Second, you are probably irked by the seemingly meaningless busywork or assignments that have little value. Questioning your assignments and tests does little in helping you get good grades or get into medical school. Instead, focus on the second order of reason. Yes, this assignment is pure busywork, and it's a waste of my time. But I want to earn my professor's respect and get a killer letter of recommendation. My ultimate goal justifies doing it his way. Questioners can motivate themselves to change habits by framing behavior change as an experiment. This approach appeals to the questioner's desire to gather information, customize, and optimize. Obligers readily meet outer expectations from others, but struggle to meet inner expectations they want to impose on themselves. External accountability is huge for obligers. In this sense, they will meet deadlines, keep promises, and follow through for others. In terms of strengths, obligers are the rock. They're the ones that people can count on. They're great leaders, team members, friends, and family members. They put others ahead of themselves, and as a result, they are incredibly dependable and responsible. Of all tendency types, obligers tend to get along most easily with other tendencies. Obligers struggle to follow through for themselves, even though they're great at following through for others. Whether it's exercising, studying more every day, saying no to friends on a Friday night, they often fail. By not taking care of themselves, they are susceptible to overwork and burnout. If the burden of outer expectations becomes too much, obligers go into obliger rebellion, where they snap and refuse to meet an expectation anymore. This can be small and symbolic, or large and destructive. Now, as a student, to stay on track, obligers have a secret weapon: accountability. The way accountability is most effectively implemented will vary from obliger to obliger. For most, it's going to be in the form of one or more accountability partners who can best help them with positive reinforcement in the form of praise and encouragement. Reminders, on the other hand, may feel like nagging, which may trigger obliger rebellion. Because finding a reliable accountability partner is difficult among friends and family, obligers may do better with a professional. For example, personal trainers can be great accountability partners for your fitness goals. For studying, seeking a professional mentor or a tutor, like the ones offered on medschoolinsiders.com, can radically improve your effectiveness and your grades. And last, the rebel. Rebels resist all expectations, both inner and outer. The ability to choose freely is of utmost importance to them. Sometimes they'll even make a choice against their own self-interest just to reassure themselves that they're able to have the freedom to choose. They love to defy customs and conventions. Rebels believe in their own uniqueness, sometimes even to the point of arrogance. When a rebel finds his or her cause, their calling, then that becomes their master and they can accomplish anything. Rebels are the ones that were looking forward to surprising you by completing a certain task, but the minute you asked them to do it, they lost all interest in doing it. In terms of strengths, the rebel dislike of constraint can be a very positive force, empowering them to resist smoking, junk food, alcohol, and any other addictive and toxic habit that begins to feel confining and controlling. They're independent-minded, able to think outside of the box, and are unswayed by conventional wisdom. They're usually in touch with their authentic desires. Now, on the other hand, their rebellious nature makes them often uncooperative, inconsiderate, and restless. They have difficulty accomplishing tasks that need to be done consistently and the same way each and every time. They struggle with routines and planning. Student rebels perform better when they are able to frame actions in terms of their own choice, freedom, and self-expression instead of constraint and duty. Telling yourself, I must do X, will not be as effective as, it's up to me, of course, but doing X is often effective. If you tell them they cannot do something, they may respond with, and I'll show you, or watch me. For example, this class is hard. I don't think you can get an A in it. Your first quiz was a B- after all. Maybe you should give up trying. This statement may fire up a rebel to prove you wrong, and they may surprise both you and themselves. Now, the natural question you may have is, which tendency is the best? To answer that is actually quite simple. There is no best tendency. As you have now learned, each tendency has its own unique characteristics, which both contribute to its strengths and weaknesses. The key, rather, is learning to exploit your tendency to your benefit, maximizing your strengths and working around your weaknesses. This video provided you with the tools to make it happen. Now go implement. I'm now going to turn it on to you. First, tell me what your tendency is down in the comments below. And for those of you who have been following the channel for some time, I'm curious to hear what you think my tendency is. Take a guess, and I'll share my results on the Med School Insiders Facebook and Instagram pages. I also want to take this moment to thank all of my Patreon supporters. Your support helps make videos like these possible. If you want to get a Med School Insiders t-shirt, see what happens behind the scenes, hear exclusive video commentary, and even have an hour-long video chat with me, check out my Patreon page. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you press that like button. New videos every week, so hit subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys in that next one.